Passengers, meanwhile, at the Ben Gurion Airport in Israel are being moved to shelters as we speak. This happens after sirens sounded following a missile launch from Iran. Reports say explosions were heard in central Israel as air defense systems attempted to intercept the incoming missiles. So now, despite this announcement of the cessation in hostilities, Ambassador Sikri, not just an assault on Iran, but now an assault on Israel being reported as well.
Yes, I think that there is also a news coming out of Iran that the Tasnim news agency of Iran has actually denied that there are any ongoing negotiations with the US. So this is another, googly that has been thrown into this all these series of breaking news, and they're saying that President Trump is under great pressure from the financial markets, because we know that the financial markets have been tanking. We know that the Indian markets collapsed by 1,800 points today morning. So it's the world fear of a complete global recession that is putting a lot of pressure on President Trump to stop the war. But clearly he's being resisted by Israel, and he's being resisted by his own CENTCOM and others, and there's a complete veil of grayness, of uncertainty over whether any talks took place and why Trump suddenly decided to postpone his deadline by 5 days. So I think that we have to really wait and see how this turns out, but we do know that the CENTCOM and Israel have continued their barbaric attacks on Tehran, on civilian targets today. And in response to that, Iran is getting ready, or has already started hitting back at targets in the Gulf countries. So I think that maybe what the leaders of Oman are saying may hold out some hope for talks to start. But so far, from what the Iranian Tasnim news agency has said, they're denying any talks at all. So what is this going on, and why is this happening like this is a matter of great concern. In my view, President Trump is just marking time till his aircraft carriers reach the Gulf and to start his amphibious assault launch with the marine expeditionary groups, which are present in large numbers on both these carriers, could be 5,000 and more in all. I think this is going to be the ultimate goal, and only when this boots on the ground, the impact of the boots on the ground effort by Israel and the US are known, only then will we be able to see any way ahead in the end to this horrible conflict. But in the meanwhile, the Straits of Hormuz, Iran has said clearly that the Straits of Hormuz will remain, the situation will remain as it is today, which means that all ships can pass through after negotiation with Iran, that is, but the enemy countries of US and Israel, those ships will not be allowed to pass through.
Okay, let me in fact quickly also take that to you. Okay, we're getting some more breaking news also coming in now. Stay with us, gentlemen. And Ambassador Sikri, I want to quickly, in fact, also address what's happening in the United Kingdom. Britain is welcoming signs of progress in the Middle East as reports emerge of productive talks between US President Donald Trump and Iran. A spokesperson for Prime Minister Starmer said any indications of productive discussions are welcome, emphasizing Britain's desire for de-escalation in the region and the urgent reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The comments follow President Trump's announcement postponing planned US military strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure for 5 days, citing very good and productive conversations over the weekend. So clearly, Ambassador Sikri, UK has welcomed this announcement by President Trump. They welcomed any kinds of de-escalation efforts that are on currently.
Yes, of course. I think that Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in the bad books of President Trump because he did not join the call to send a flotilla there to reopen the Straits of Hormuz on a permanent basis. But today he is following the news line that is being put out by President Trump directly. But what my point is that in the light of contradictions from the Tasnim news agency of Iran, one doesn't know where the reality is. And, I think you're automatically seeing Pakistan trying to show their own role as though they are having a role in the peace talks. But I think the situation is by no means as clear as that. And the very fact that CENTCOM and Israel are continuing their targets, their targeting of civilian targets inside Iran, covering many cities, including Tehran and many, many other cities of Iran, it shows that the effort to bring the Iranian regime to its knees is continuing. And they want to weaken the Iranian regime completely, to the point that the people will come out and the regime change will happen, which is, one must realize, is the primary target of the Americans and the Israelis, to have a regime change in Iran, to have such a weakened regime take over control in Iran, and to have the IRGC, which is at the moment, leading the war against the Gulf countries and against Israel, to have them so weak that they're not able to exert their influence. And so their control of Iran's considerable war, stock of war weapons, their missiles and others, and their ships, and their authority to lay mines and so on, all that will be weakened. This is the target clearly of America and Israel, and that they're targeting the cities, but the impact is not yet known, because there is the just as in Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to show his superiority over Iran, and to show that he is the one in charge, and to say that the Iranians are below him. But we do know that in Israel itself, in the beginning, Prime Minister Netanyahu had a 93% or more support for the war. But in the light of all the attacks on Israeli cities, where the Iranian missiles have got through the Iron Dome and have been able to hit with real telling effect, with destruction of buildings, killing of people, wounding of people, Prime Minister Netanyahu is in a weakening position. So he wants to restore his appearance of triumphalism by showing that that he can continue it. Very murky situation. In short.
Now, Donald Trump has come out with a fresh statement. We are hearing that US President has put out a statement, another statement, after announcing a halt on strikes on Iran's power infrastructure. Trump has said what's happening now in Iran can be described as regime change, because it's totally different people. All right, is this an indication then that the US has achieved its objectives? What do you make of this statement, Manan Dwivedi, by the US President Donald Trump, claiming regime change has happened in Iran? It can be called as a change of regime because it's totally different people in charge there.
Definitely, the regime change actually has not occurred in Tehran, as far as I am concerned. As far as what I have been talking about it, the Revolutionary Guards and the Khomeini superstructure, their hierarchy, it works in a particular fashion, and they are aware of the kind of catastrophe that had to befall Tehran sometime or the other, whenever President Trump or America would love to call a spade a spade. So that kind of a thing has happened. But Mustafa Khomeini has come in instead of Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, and the real ideology, the real war effort, and the appellations of of Iran being the Satan, and the same devilish metaphors being used for America as the great Satan, that continues. So the regime change has not occurred, and we all were expecting, some of us were expecting, that the shock and awe, the taking out, and the sanctions before them, that is the military sanctions, the financial sanctions, the diplomatic sanctions, these are the 4 types of sanctions, and the economic sanctions. They are going to have some kind of an impact upon Iran. And when that did not occur, the shock and awe came, the taking out came, and now the situation or the scenario of boots on ground is in the offing. But when I talk about diplomacy, I have to mention that there is completely a fog of war, which seems to be doing the rounds as far as the international media and the narratives which are being...
All right. Meanwhile, we are learning of another alert that has been issued. The United States of America issuing this alert for citizens living in Saudi Arabia. US statement says, we are monitoring the situation in the Middle East closely and will keep you updated so you can make decisions about your safety. If you want to leave the Middle East, the US government is ready to assist by providing you the latest information about the departure options available. President Trump, Secretary of State Rubio, and the Department of State have no higher priority than the safety and security of American citizens. We encourage US citizens to depart Saudi Arabia via commercial flights if you can do so safely. Saudi airspace remains open with frequent air traffic restrictions to address continued missile and drone threats. Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam airports are open and operational, but travelers are advised to check their flight status directly with the airline due to possible delays and cancellations. So clearly, of course, an alert being issued, Major General Bansal, by the US for their citizens in Saudi Arabia.
This citizen of Americans are everywhere is threatened by the Iran and Iran regime. They may have the bombing at the same time. They could have some kind of terrorist activities where they will their citizen can be masquerade over there. So that is the reason that that America is telling to come out from there, and not only from there, to all over the world where at least there is a threat of such kind of thing, because the Iran has got the proxies and they have got the sleeper cells, so they can activate those and can occur. Now, under these circumstances, when there is the security
Yes.
is already yes.
All right,
So
we've run out of time. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. We are taking a very short break.